Peace, peace, peace. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know, it's your boy Vic Slain Hope, and I got another video for y'all. In this video, I am going to be talking about emotional intelligence. And about that, I'm going to be specifying and breaking down how men have way more emotional intelligence than women. This is just on the average, right? Because a lot of times we hear a lot of our sisters say that men lack emotional intelligence. And what they usually mean by that is that we might not be as empathetic as them, and we might not be as soft in the way of like, oh, crying every single time, or breaking down about certain things, because oftentimes women say like, why I never seen you cry, or why won't you cry in front of me, or why won't you, why I don't see you sad and distraught and all of those things, right? That's really what they mean by emotional intelligence, because men display a lot of other emotions that they don't really care for, right? Like when man is happy, you see him. When man is excited, especially when sports, right, are involved, when a man is nostalgic, like it's a lot of other emotions. When he's angry, it's a lot of other emotions that men display, right? But women don't really talk about those, right? So how can you say men don't display their emotions when they constantly show you different emotions and different side of them? Because they only really care about those specific emotions. They want to see you cry for some reason, and they want to see you breaking down for whatever reason, right? Even though that's a turn off for them too, right? But anyway, and I don't know where it's come from. I don't know if it might be a nature and a nurture thing. So let me break this down. Society, right? I'm gonna just say society, right? In society makes a lot of excuses for the bad behavior and the bad decisions that women make, right? For men, no, it's strictly accountability for the men. For example, if a woman makes a poor decision, and she goes sleep around and she has an unwanted pregnancy, right? She has plan B to terminate it. She could have an abortion. She also can even deliver the baby, and if she don't want the baby, she can literally go give it up to a church. She can give it up for adoption. She could leave it in the garbage can. She can literally absolve herself from all accountability, right? And this is like a societal thing, right? On the other hand, a man cannot abandon his children, right? He will be put on child support. He will be chased down. He will be jailed. He will be held accountable to the furthest extent of the law. So in this scenario, we already see how a woman could kind of like wiggle herself out of a situation that she kind of like don't want, and in the same situation, a man don't. Even though the woman gets to decide if she wants to have the child, she gets to decide who she lays down with. She gets to decide if she even wants to go with the pregnancy. All of those things, right? Even though if it's a mistake, she can wiggle herself out of that mistake, right? So we see in that statement that men are held to a higher standard. Now to the emotions, men and being held to a higher standard when it comes to the emotions, right? A woman can lash out. A woman is allowed from birth, from when we're young, right? When a man cries or when a man try to express himself a certain way, it's like, no, don't do that, right? Like, hold it down. Like, you're a man, you're supposed to be stoic, right? And I get it. I understand that. I don't think that means don't cry. It just means don't cry in front of people, because people will look at you a certain way. On the other hand, the women are allowed a whole bunch of different ranges, right? A woman could literally lash out. She could bug out. She could throw things. She can just do a whole bunch of things, and society would just be like, oh, she's just being a woman, she's just a little crazy, you know how they get, we blame it on their period. Like they just absolved of so many things, right? Of so much accountability. Man, on the other hand, if a man gets too mad, if he gets too angry, if he start throwing stuff, if he start breaking stuff, it's like, oh, you're feminine, oh, you're this, oh, you're lacking in this. It becomes so much scrutiny when men do certain things, when men act out of their composure. Realize this: oftentimes we say, oh, we're human and we all break down and we all do certain things, but it's like men are held to a certain standard of almost being robotic. Like, you can't mess up, you can't do the wrong things, you can't be human, right? And this is a societal thing, right? And even those women who try to say, oh no, I'm not like that, it's like, yo, if you show too much emotions, if you tap too much into talking too much, it's gonna be a problem. It's like the saying, right? They say women want you to talk, but they don't talk too much. Women want you to feel, but don't feel too much. So it's like they want you to be honest, but don't be too honest. So it's like they say what they don't mean all the time, right? So back to the emotional intelligence. It takes a man, that's what I said in the other video, it takes a man with high emotional intelligence to be able to deal with a woman, because most women are bratty. They're bratty, they're undecisive, they're ungrateful. They got a lot of these things to them, and you have to be in a certain space to be able to deal with that. This is why some men who don't have the emotional intelligence, they end up hitting women, because the shit that they be doing sometimes could get under your skin, and I could understand that. I don't agree with people hitting people, but I could see how when you don't have the emotional intelligence or the capabilities to tap into certain areas of yourself to be able to deal with your counterpart, I can see how, because men are physical. This is why men don't argue with men, right? A man arguing with another man, they know what that leads to. They know there's the danger of physicality. They know there's the danger of somebody getting hurt or even dying, right? So men don't tend to really fully argue with men because they know where it's going to go. On the other hand, women feel like they can just argue with you, right? Some women even feel like they can just put their hands on you, which clearly shows they have no understanding about emotional intelligence. At least the guys understand, I can't keep doing this because it's going to go somewhere. When a woman is arguing with a man, she's not thinking that. Why? Because you're the man. You're not supposed to put your hands on me. You're not supposed to do this. But yet, you're the woman. You're also not supposed to be verbally abusive or doing certain things or even putting your hands on the brothers. But like I said, society has raised women where they have given them an outing out of every situation so they avoid accountability, right? If a woman raised bad children that contribute to negative society, right? They wiggle out of that too, right? They when we try to highlight or hold them accountable, it's like they'll be like, well, what about the father? Or what about society? Or what about this? Or what about the schools? And it's like, even though all the things are a catalyst, everybody has to take accountability for what role they play in what's going on in our environments, right? But they will wiggle themselves out because, again, in society, we have given them the outing of like, we don't really have to hold them accountable, right? So that was just my spiel on emotional intelligence. Oftentimes, a man has to be composed. He has to have his composure. He has to know how to react a certain way. He has to know the first thing that they try to do, right? When they try to get a man to act out of his character, especially a black man, right? And the moment you act out of your character, they'll be like, look at him, look at him. He's violent, he's aggressive, he's XYZ. They try to diminish your character based on how you act, right? Based on your emotional outbursts. But on the other hand, our sisters got a whole range of emotions they could tap into and a whole bunch of shit they could act out at will. And you know what we would say? We would say like, oh, they just being women. Not all of us, because nowadays you're starting to see more men kind of like hold women accountable. And you see how that's going. They're rejecting it. They're not trying to hear it. They don't care about the facts. They can't see what they're doing, right? Because they think it's okay. They think it's okay to be bratty. They think it's okay to be verbally abusive. Some women even will say, it don't matter what I say. You can't put your hands on me, right? And I agree to a certain extent. But at the same time, you can't think that you can antagonize and you can verbally lash and cut and slice this dude up with your tongue and you just expect them to sit there and take it, or you expect them to sit there and argue with you. That's why I tell brothers, don't argue with women. Walk away. Get up out them. Get up out from their vicinity. And oftentimes, sometimes when you're living together, these things are worse, right? Which is why I tell the brothers it's so important the type of woman that you get with. You got to get with a woman who respects you. You got to get with a woman who has somewhat of emotional intelligence, because a lot of them, they really don't. Like I said, the only thing that they have is a little more empathy than us. When it comes to that, yes, I will give it to them. And they have the ability to, if something is hurting them, they will cry and they'll let it out. And that's the only things. Outside of that, they don't really know how to control their anger. They don't really know how to control, even their breaking down of the crying. It's cool to cry, but it's like they'll break down for little things. They'll break down for things that it's like, it's not even that serious, right? So they don't have no control. Even when they get, another example of this, when they get their periods, what is one of the first things they say? Oh, I'm just on my period. Oh, I got mood. Like, they acknowledge that they have mood swings. They acknowledge that one moment is this and then the next moment is that. They flip like this instantly, right? So this is a clear indication that they don't have as much control over the emotions like men do. Now, what you're starting to see is you're starting to see a rise in emotional men. That's due to food. They're feeding us a lot of estrogen. They put in a lot of chemicals, whether it's in the air, the water, the all type of stuff. Also, men not being raised around strong men. The weakening, the emasculation of the men, the role models is not really out there, right? Or these kids, these young men are not getting around them. So you're starting to see more men come about without emotional intelligence, which is the dudes who go out there. Like I said, these are the dudes that go out there. They're shooting women. They're beating women up. They're doing a whole bunch of things to women. And men, right, because they don't have no control of themselves. They don't have their emotions in tune or in check. So we starting to see that. When I was growing up, like, men used to fight more, right? Like, people would literally link up. We'll meet up to fight. Nowadays, it's like these dudes don't even want to fight. They can't take an ass whooping. They don't work out. They got low testosterone levels. So this is contributing to the lack of emotional intelligence around men. But let me know what y'all thoughts are in the comment section. Make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share. Stay blessed. Peace.